Hi guys, welcome back to Mysteries Channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. I really do appreciate it. Today we're going to go over the second portion of the Dene Bahane. I went over the first portion a few months ago. The first portion goes over the worlds of the Navajo. They symbolize many things. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put a link to it below and above. I'd watched that before I'd watched this if you haven't watched that one before. If you have watched it before, this portion of the video will go over the monsters of the ancient world and how they were defeated and who they were defeated by. That being said, let's get into it. First man, first woman, Great Coyote, and the holy people next planned stars for the night sky. They gathered as many pieces of rock star mica as they could find, and they put them on a blanket. First man made a drawing in the dirt to plan the location of all the stars, seeking to make the sky like a woven rug, orderly and balanced. Black God placed the North Star. First man placed the Big Dipper, while first woman put the Little Dipper into the sky. First man also placed 7 stars, the Pleiades, which Black God claimed represented parts of his body. They placed Coyote's feather, or the slender one, the belt, and the sword of Orion. They placed the old man with feet apart and the rabbit tracks moving toward dawn, and the revolving male warrior with his bow and arrow, and his wife, one who carries the fire in her basket. The coyote, named First Angry, returned to see what they were doing. He took a piece of rockstar mica and he placed it in the sky. He placed another one in the south, the morning star. Then Coyote said, "This is too long. I have a better way." Then he snapped the blanket and the rest of the star mica was scattered across the sky. First man and first woman, together with Water Sprinkler and Black God, the god of fire, set out to create the 6 sacred mountains from dirt that first man had brought up from each mountain in the third world. They placed them as they had been in the third world. They recreated Dawn, or White Shell Mountain, in the east. They decorated it with white shells. They decorated it with white lightning. They decorated it with white corn. They decorated it with dark clouds that make male rain. From the stones they had brought, they fashioned Rock Crystal Boy and Rock Crystal Girl to reside there forever. In the south, they created Blue Bead, or Turquoise Mountain. They adorned it with turquoise. They adorned it with dark mist. They adorned it with animals. They adorned it with light clouds that bring female rain. From 2 stones they brought with them, they fashioned the boy who was bringing back turquoise and the girl who was bringing back many ears of corn. They were created to reside there forever. To the west, they recreated Abalone Shell Mountain. They adorned it with Haliotis Shell. They adorned it with animals. They adorned it with dark clouds that bring male rain. From material from the third world, they created White Corn Boy and Yellow Corn Girl. They were created to reside there forever. In the north, they recreated Big Mountain Sheep. They adorned that mountain with black beads. They adorned it with many plants. They adorned it with many animals. They adorned it with gray mist that brings female rain. From materials below, they fashioned Pollen Boy and Grasshopper Girl. They created them to reside there forever. Near the center, they recreated Soft Goods, or Banded Rock Mountain. They left its summit bare, but they created beings to reside there. They were Boy who produces goods and Girl who produces goods. East of center, they recreated Precious Stones, or Great Spruce Mountain. They decorated it with pollen and clouds that bring female rain. On it, they created 2 beings, the boy who produces jewels and the girl who produces jewels, to live there forever. When all was done, first man, first woman, Black God, and Water Sprinkler returned and taught the people about the sacred mountains. They taught them that these 6 mountains were their principal mountains. From the Loa Mesa lands, they could see them. Chants were made for them. Finally, a smoke was prepared for the mountains and chants were sung. In the third world, there was a time when men and women lived apart for a long time. During that time, some women had used animal horns or long stones, bird feathers for pleasure. Now in the fourth world, some of those women were pregnant. One woman who had used an antelope horn gave birth to a child with no head. The people held council and decided that this baby would be abandoned. It was left to die in a gully. But it lived and it grew and became a horned monster. A woman who had used an eagle's feather for pleasure gave birth to a round, headless child with feathered shoulders. A council was held, and it was decided that this baby too should be abandoned. It was left in an alkali pit, but it lived and it grew to become Monster Eagle. It made a home on a peak beyond La Plata Mountains. A woman who had used an elongated stone for pleasure gave birth to a headless child with a hard skin and a pointed neck. The people met in council and decided that this baby should be abandoned in a fissure in a cliff. They placed the baby and closed the fissure with rocks, but the child lived and grew and became the monster who kicks people down the cliff. It made its home at the place beyond Carrizos Mountains. The woman who had skinned a sour cactus and used it for pleasure gave birth to twins, headless creatures with no limbs. They had 2 depressions at the top that looked like eyes. The people gathered and decided these infants had to be abandoned. They threw them as far as they could, but the twins found shelter in brush and survived. They grew to become monsters that kill with their eyes. One monster came out a different way. A woman named Loose Running Woman went off alone in the direction of the sunrise. She placed a warm stone inside of her just as the sun rose above the horizon. Seeing this, the sun sent a ray into her. In only 9 days, she gave birth to a large child. Having no husband and not knowing who the father of the child was, she abandoned the child in a rocky place. But the son knew that baby was his, and he protected it from afar, but never visited it. The child grew to be large and powerful and very angry. It was called Big Giant by the people. The monsters hid along the paths and killed and devoured travelers. They killed many people, and the people began to live in fear. Most of the people had been killed. First man said, "Perhaps the holy people will help us." In the morning, he saw a dark cloud hovering over the top of Great Spruce Mountain. In the night, he saw a fire on the mountain. He said to First Woman, "Someone is there. I must go to them." "No," she said. "There are many monsters between here and there. It is not safe for you." The following day, the dark cloud remained on the mountain, and at night the fire appeared for the second time. This happened a third time as well, and on the 4th day, First man said, "I must go. I believe there is a holy person on the mountain who can help us." He set out for Great Spruce Mountain, and as he walked, he sang, "I am First Man, and I head for the Great Spruce Mountain in pursuit of old age and happiness. In pursuit of old age and happiness, I follow the lightning and approach the place where it strikes. In the pursuit of old age and happiness, I follow the rainbow and I approach the place where it touches the earth. In the pursuit of old age and happiness, I follow the dark cloud's trail and approach the place where it is thickest. In the pursuit of old age and happiness, I follow the scent of rain, and I approach the place where the lines of rain are darkest." At the very summit of Great Spruce Mountain, he heard the cry of an infant and the crash of lightning, the pouring of rain, and he saw the tip of a rainbow with intense colors in front of the black sky. Suddenly, the rain stopped and the sky became light. Where he heard the cry of a baby, there was a turquoise figure of a girl lying on the ground. First man picked up the turquoise girl and carried it home with him. 2 days later, First man and First woman were awakened very early in the morning by the sound of whoo, hoo, 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 hoo. They knew what it was. They knew it was Talking God. He told them that they must return to the top of Great Spruce Mountain with the turquoise figure in 12 days. When they reached a level spot just below the summit of Great Spruce Mountain, Talking God was there waiting for them. House God was there. Water Sprinkler was there. With them was Nilchi, the wind. Talking God lay a perfect buckskin on the ground with its head facing the west. On the buckskin, First man lay the turquoise figure of a girl with her head to the west. Then, Talking God placed another perfect buckskin over the figure with its head facing east. The holy people began to sing the sacred song, The Blessings Way, and Nilchi the wind entered between the buckskins. The upper blanket was removed, and beneath it was a living baby girl. Her name was Changing Woman. The holy people told the first man and first woman to take her home and raise her as their daughter. When first woman and first man carried Changing Woman to their hogan, first man made a cradle board and tied her to it. "Now she will be my daughter," he said. First woman took the baby and breathed on her 4 times. "Now," she said, "she will be my daughter." At the end of the second day, the baby laughed for the first time. The coyote named First Angry arrived and said, "I was told that my grandchild laughed for the first time." First woman took charcoal and gave it to Coyote, saying, "This is the only thing that lasts." He painted his nose with it and said, "I shall know all things. I shall live long by it." Satisfied with the gift, he departed. Since then, persons always receive a gift when the baby laughs for the first time, and the first laugh ceremony is performed. By the 13th day, Changing Woman had become a young woman, and on that day she said to First Woman, "Something unusual has passed through me." First Woman said, "That is your first race." They covered the floor of the hogan with blankets, and Changing Woman laid on them face down. First man pulled her hair down and shaped her face and dressed her in beautiful goods, beads, bracelets, and earrings, and tied her hair with a strip of perfect buckskin. Then First man and First woman stepped outside the hogan and told Changing Woman to run first race around a cedar tree and return from east to west as the sun does. When she returned, they invited all the people to sing over her in the hogan called Changeable House, on the mountain called Banded Rock or Soft Goods. 4 days later, a great crowd gathered. In the evening of the 4th day, a sweet corn cake was made from different colored cornmeal sweetened with yeast. The night chant was sung, and in the morning, men received some of the maiden's cake as a gift for their chance. The changing woman sat in the back of the hogan as gifts were piled in front of her. In this way, the first race of every young woman should be celebrated. Soon after that, changing woman wished for a mate. Every morning when the sun rose, she lay on her back till noon, her head to the west and her feet to the east. At noon, she went to the spring. She lay under the ledge and let the spring water drip over her body. This took place each day for 4 days. On the 4th day, she heard a sound behind her and turned and saw a young man on a great white horse with black eyes. It had a long white mane and pranced above the ground, not on the earth itself. The bridle and the saddle were white. The young man's moccasins and leggings were also white. The rider spoke. "You lay towards me each morning until noon. When I am half over the center of the earth, you go to the spring. Your wish could not have two meanings. Go home and tell your father to build a brush hogan to the south of your home. Fill a basket with meal and set it in the hogan. Make a line of pollen from east to west across the blanket on top of the meal. Make a line of pollen from north to south around the basket. You and your father must sit there late into the night. He will then go home to his wife, and you must stay there alone." Changing woman had returned home and told what happened to her parents. First man said it could not be true, but first woman said that it was indeed a message of a holy being and they must obey. And so first man and changing woman prepared the hogan and the basket and waited long into the night. Finally, first man returned home. When changing woman returned home in the morning, first man asked her once, "Who came last night?" The girl said, "No one came, but some of the meal has been taken." The same thing happened the second night and the third. And on the morning after the 4th night, the girl told first man, "I saw no one, but someone touched me, and I was moved." 4 days later, changing woman said, "Mother, something moves within me." And first woman said, "Daughter, that must be your baby moving." On the 9th day, changing woman felt her birth labor begin. Talking God appeared carrying a rope of sunbeam. Water sprinkler, the rain god, appeared carrying a rope of rainbow. Saying nothing, the two beings gave one of each rope to changing woman and silently bid her to pull them with each spasm of labor. This began the custom of giving rope to a woman who is in labor. The baby emerged, and talking God took it aside and washed it and severed its cord. A second baby emerged, and water sprinkler took it aside and washed it and severed its cord. After 4 days, talking God and water sprinkler returned. The twins had already grown into big boys, grandsons. Talking God said, "We have come to run a race with you. We will see how fit you have become," said Water Sprinkler. They agreed. The boys ran fast and the holy people ran slower. But soon the boys became tired and the holy people came up behind them and began taunting them and whipping them with switches of mountain mahogany. As they approached home, Talking God and Water Sprinkler ran past them and won the race. "We will return in 4 days to race again," they said, and departed. In the evening, the boys were sore and tired. Nilchi the wind came to them and said, "Practice each day and grow stronger." In 4 days, Talking God and Water Sprinkler returned, and the four raced again around the mountain. It was a faster pace, but just as before, Talking God and Water Sprinkler ran just behind the twins and whipped them with switches. Again, the holy people said they would return in 4 days and race again. And again, in the evening, Nilchi the wind came and encouraged them and urged them to train. Each day the boys trained, and in the third race, Talking God and Water Sprinkler no longer whipped the twins, but had to run their strongest to win the race at the end. 4 days later, they returned to race the final time. Again, the boys started very fast, but this time they did not tire or slow their pace. They led the whole way and won the race. "Well done, grandsons," said Talking God and Water Sprinkler. "You have grown into what we wanted you to become. Now you can serve those well who have nurtured you." The twins came to Changing Woman and said, "Mother, who is our father?" "You have no father," she said. "We must have a father," replied the twins. "We need to know who he is." "Your father is a round cactus then," said Changing Woman. "Be still." First man made bows and arrows for the twins, and they traveled south to hunt. They saw a large black bird on a tree, and they tried to hit it with an arrow, but it flew away. When they told Changing Woman this, she said, "That was Raven, and he may be a spy for Monster Bird who devours our people. Do not go there again." The following day, the boys took their arrows and headed west. They saw a large black bird with a red beak and tried to kill it, but it flew away. When they told Changing Woman this, she said, "That was Vulture. He may be a spy for the monsters that kick people down cliffs. Do not go there again." again. The next day, the boys traveled to the north, and there they saw a black and white bird with a piercing voice. They tried to shoot it with their arrows, but it flew away. When they told their mother, she said that was Magpie. He is a spy for the monster who kills with its eyes. If he sees you, he will paralyze you with his eyes and peck you to pieces. Changing Woman cried, now the monsters know about you. They will come to kill you. You must stay inside. The next morning, Changing Woman climbed the hill. Looking in the distance, she saw many monsters approaching from the south, from the west, and from the north. She made 4 sacred hoops. The white one she threw to the east. The blue one she threw to the south. The yellow one she threw to the west. The black one she threw to the north. At once, a strong wind began to circle the hogan. The wind is too strong for the monsters to enter, she told her sons. We will be safe here for one day, but tomorrow the power will be gone. At night, the twins spoke softly to one another. The monsters, they're coming for us, they said. We must leave so that the others will be safe. Before dawn, they left and ran down the holy path to the east. By daybreak, the twins were approaching the sacred mountain called Banded Rock Mountain. They saw smoke rising from the ground. They saw that it came from an underground chamber with a ladder extending. When they looked down into the entrance, they saw an old woman sitting before a small fire. It was Spider Woman. Enter, my son, she said in a raspy voice. Who are you? And why do you walk on the trail of the rainbow? The boys entered. We do not know who we are, and we do not know where we are going, said the twins. We are fleeing for our lives. You must tell me more, said Spider Woman. Changing Woman is our mother, and we flee the alien monsters, said the boys. You are welcome here, and you can learn much from me, said Spider Woman, but you must tell me more. We are Yatashki'i, raised without a father, said the twins. Perhaps our father is a round cactus. We follow the holy trail because the monsters will destroy us if they can. Spider Woman stood and extended her arms. I will tell you who your father is and how to go to him, she said. And she gestured for the first twin to sit upon a chair of obsidian and for the second twin to sit upon a chair of turquoise. She gave them food, and then she said, your father is the sun. His dwelling is far to the east. The way is long and dangerous. Many monsters live between here and there, and your father may try to harm you. Tell us how to go there, said the twins. You must cross 4 dangerous places, said Spider Woman. You must pass the rocks that crush travelers. You must cross the reeds that cut travelers into pieces. You must cross between the cane cactuses that cut travelers to shreds. Then you must pass the boiling sands that burn travelers to fine ashes. Beyond those 4 points, no ordinary creature can pass. But I will give you a talisman that will help you, she said. Saying this, she handed the boys a sacred hoop fashioned from the fire feathers of monster eagles. Treat this charm carefully and use it correctly. As you face your enemies, stare at them without fear and extend the sacred hoops towards them. Then repeat this song. Rub your feet with pollen and rest them. Rub your hands with pollen and rest them. Rub your body with pollen and lie at rest. Rub your head with pollen and put your mind to rest. Then truly your feet become pollen. Your hands become pollen. Your body becomes pollen. Your head becomes pollen. Your spirit will then be pollen. Your voice will become pollen. All of you is pollen, and all of you is as pollen is. And what pollen is, that is what peace is. The trail ahead is now a beautiful trail. Long life is ahead, happiness is ahead. Now, she said, you are ready to go. You have the power that you need. Walk in beauty. The twins continued to the east on the trail of the rainbow until they came to a narrow pass between 2 high cliffs. The cliffs pulled apart as they approached. They walked quickly to the opening and stopped suddenly, and the cliffs slammed together in front of them. We are the children of the sun, the twins called. We go to him with a message from Spider Woman. Tell us the message, called the voice. The boys held out the sacred hoop and sang the song Spider Woman had taught them. The cliffs parted and the twins passed safely between them. Next, they came to the slashing reeds, and again they held out the sacred hoop and sang the holy song and passed safely through. Then they came to the cane cacti, which sprang to life as they approached it. Again, with the sacred hoop and the song of Spider Woman, they passed through safely. At last, they came to the boiling dunes, which began to swirl and boil as they approached. We must know who you are, and where you come from, and where you're going, and to what purpose, roared the dunes. We are the children of the sun, the twins called. We come from Banded Rock Mountain. We go to our father with a message from Spider Woman. They held out the sacred hoops and sang the song of Spider Woman, and the dunes subsided. Continue on, the dunes said. Long life is ahead. Happiness is ahead. To the east, the twins saw the turquoise dwelling of the sun.